Welcome back. Well, that crucial US election is drawing closer, just like the fiscal cliff. But first, who is going to be on the precipice? Next week, Republicans gather in Tampa, Florida for that uniquely American democratic tradition, the political convention, to anoint Mitt Romney and his newly minted running mate, Paul Ryan. Here to give you an idiot's guide to what you need to know ahead of all the hoopla is a man not an idiot, the very learned Dr. David Smith, lecturer in American politics and foreign policy at the United States Studies Centre at the University of Sydney. Welcome to the show. Now, just tell us what we need to know. There's going to be a lot of hoopla, as I call it, around the convention next week. We know it's Mitt Romney. What are the facts we need to know next week?
Well, the Republican convention is a chance for the Republican Party to define itself, whereas in the last few weeks, really, the Democrats seem to have been controlling the whole narrative about the Republican Party and what the Republicans actually stand for. So this is a chance for the Republicans to articulate a really clear, positive platform for what they actually stand for, now that Mitt Romney has made it clear that the election isn't just going to be a referendum on Barack Obama.
Well, this is why they say he got Paul Ryan as his running mate, a man with ideas, a man who can, as they say, inspire his base. As somebody pointed out, it's a bit late in the day to be inspiring your base if the number one doesn't do it.
That's right. I don't think that the purpose of the Ryan pick was really to win the election. I don't think that there's anyone he could have picked who would have won the election for him. I mean, it's going to be won over the next few months, according to what happens with the economy. But I think that if he does win, Ryan will be a very easy vice president to govern with, because when he's in the White House, he's a very popular Republican. He'll be able to sell Romney's policies to a Republican Congress rather than being kind of the leader of the Conservative opposition in Congress. So I think that
it's interesting you say he'll be able to sell Romney's policies, because I don't think we're really sure what Mr. Flip-Flop, the firm ones are. I think the biggest question mark is, will Romney have to sell Paul Ryan's policies, his very strict conservative fiscal policies?
Yeah, I don't think that Romney will adopt Ryan's policies wholesale, even if he makes noises about how much he likes those policies to appease his base. The kind of Ryan policies that we're talking about are things that no first-term president is really likely to try. That is, fairly radical reform to Medicare.
Getting rid of Medicare, slashing social welfare.
Yes, I mean, they say it's preserving Medicare, but even mentioning the word and sort of saying that you're going to mess with it has long been considered the third rail of American politics.
Well, of course, it's vital for Australians. I mean, I've just been to America. I've seen the concern over this fiscal cliff without going into too much detail. Draconian spending cuts come in at the same, automatic spending cuts come in at the same time as the tax cuts end. Now, from a world point of view, the US economy, we saw what happened when they nearly went into default last year. Paul Ryan's politics, I mean, it's great that someone's taking the budget deficit seriously, but is he the person who can solve the problem, do you think? Are his policies ones that we need?
Well, I'm not sure how much of a deficit-reducing package he is actually offering. When the Congressional Budget Office scored his package, there was a lot of concern that the numbers weren't adding up, and even going by the kind of optimistic assumptions that the Romney campaign was putting out there, which depend on economic growth, he would only be cutting the deficit by about, I think it was $10 billion more than Obama's actually offering. So
we shouldn't get excited he's the saviour yet.
I wouldn't get really excited about it. I think that any serious deficit-cutting plan actually has to involve raising revenue. And I mean, the Republicans talk about...
such an old-fashioned concept.
They talk about the seriousness of Paul Ryan. What they're really talking about is as serious as anyone can be when they're talking about deficit reduction without raising taxes at all. But, I mean, Ryan is very contemptuous of what he calls the green eyeshade wing of the Republican Party, which are the traditional accountancy-minded people who are actually about balancing the budget.
The green eyeshade wing. We could do with the green eyeshade wing of the Liberal Party.
I think everyone could use a few green eyeshades around.
Joyce prides himself on being an accountant. I'll call him the green eyeshade person. Now, I've actually been to one of these conventions. You're right. It's a lot about it's about posturing. It's about the speeches you give. It's about inspiring them. It's about the look. I mean, it's spin taken to the nth degree. Now, the idea of Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, this was put everything behind us, show we're on track. Unfortunately, they get a bit waylaid. Like even yesterday, we've had a controversy, the female vote. One of the Tea Party candidates came out with an extraordinary offensive statement that against abortion, saying that rape victims can't fall pregnant, something so ridiculous. These things just put them back so far, don't they?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, the candidate who made that comment, John Aiken from Missouri, his Democratic opponent has actually partly bankrolled his primary campaign because she believed that he would be the most beatable candidate. Now, I don't think she could have imagined actually how it would turn out with him saying that legitimate rape victims can't fall pregnant because the body won't allow it. And I mean, there's been this massive reaction from within the Republican Party saying that this is just appalling. Nearly every major Republican has completely condemned these comments. It's very unusual to see so many Republicans actually deferring to scientific authority.
But it loses them that agenda they wanted to have again. Now, we'll see next week. All focus will be on the Republicans. They usually get a post-convention bounce. I think it's 2 weeks later we have the Democratic convention in Charleston.
That's right, yes.
What do we expect to see out of the Democratic one? Joe Biden to shut up, hopefully. I mean, people here didn't see, but he made a goose of himself last week too with a comment about people being in chains.
Romney's policies putting people back in chains,
which he said to a group of black voters. So what can we expect after the bounce to the Republicans? What do the Democrats have to do?
Barack Obama has to fire up his own base again. I mean, I think that in this election, there's a relatively low number of undecided voters actually left, and I think that both parties are going to be following a strategy of mobilising their existing supporters rather than trying to persuade too many new people to actually vote for them. So Obama is going to try to reconnect with the kind of energy in the base that he inspired in 2008. That got so many minorities and young people out to vote that it was an overwhelmingly Democratic electorate.
And that was the message I got in Washington. The numbers show, I mean, by all accounts, Obama's biggest problem is the disillusionment, that they ain't going to turn out for him. How does he get them to turn out? I mean, women might turn out in fear of the Republicans. How does he get the young and the black vote?
I think that the message that he has to sell is that the Republicans are really going to turn back the clock if they get in power, and that he has put the country on the right path to recovery, but that he needs another 4 years to accomplish the things that he promised 4 years ago.
It's going to be a hard ask and will depend on a lot of those economic figures coming out.
It certainly will.
So basically what you're talking about is a lot of negative ads and scare campaigns.
I would imagine there'll be a huge number of negative ads and scare campaigns. I mean, people forget that Obama was actually a very effective negative campaigner the last time around. His campaign is extremely good at that. And
we thought it was hopium. That's what the market calls it, hopium. No hopium this time around.
Well, muted hope, perhaps.
All right. Well, just finally, very quickly, we're running out of time. Who's your bet at this stage before the conventions?
It's still slightly Obama at this point. I think that Romney will actually need more deterioration in the economy to win this, because Obama at the moment seems almost immune to moderately bad economic news.
It's all about the economy, stupid, not you. Stupid, that's a term. Thank you very much, David Smith, and no doubt we'll be talking to you again before the election. It's going to be very interesting and does make a nice change from Europe, doesn't it? That's all we have time for tonight, but I'll be back to do it all again tomorrow night when I'm assured Clive Palmer will have released James McCulloch to tell us all about his flight with Clive. See you then. Thank you.